Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. All individuals entering city-operated facilities, including City Hall, are required to wear a non-medical face mask. Those at the table are not required to wear masks while sitting as long as they're distanced 6 feet from anyone else. Once you leave your seat at the table, you must put your mask back on. As directed by Manitoba Health, we're requesting people avoid close contact within 2 meters with anyone showing symptoms of respiratory illness such as coughing or sneezing. If you are experiencing flu-like symptoms, we are requesting that you excuse yourself from the room. I would like to introduce the members of the panel for today's hearing. To my left is Mr. Doug Marks, and to his left is Ms. Tracy Anderson, and my name is Brent McIntyre, and I'll be chairing the meeting today. Our assessor is Jennifer Nichols, and our secretary is Kara Balshaw. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessment of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decision on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the Board's orders. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. Use of cell phones is not permitted except by the approval of the chair. Thank you. Ryan, you have to put your mask on. Sorry. So the first item on the docket.
So, Madam Assessor, for the record, please state your name.
Jennifer Nichols.
Do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. The first item on the docket today is 203 Kenora Street, and I understand that there's a recommendation for this, Jennifer?
Yes.
So if you want to read the information into the record.
Okay.
Let me just bring it up. Okay, you may proceed.
Okay, so roll number 12-08-2855-000. 203 Kenora Street is in Wolseley. 2.5-story, built in 1906. It has some upgrades, been nicely maintained. 2,994 square feet with no finished basement and no detached structures. This property is currently assessed at $471,000, but I am recommending a reduction to $415,000, and that recommendation was accepted by the owner.
Thank you. Tracy, any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Doug?
No questions for me, thank you.
And I have no questions. The next one is 1294 Alexander Avenue, and our understanding was that this applicant was going to zoom in. Jennifer?
I did try to contact this applicant. I was not able to get a hold of him, so I'm not too sure whether he's attending or not.
And then there's nothing submitted by the applicant in any event. But you'll have to read it into the record
Okay.
if you want to proceed.
So roll number 13-09-019-7000, 1294 Alexander Avenue, located in Weston, 1.5 story, built in 1909, small effective age on this property, living area of 1,152 square feet with a full basement that is at least partially finished. No detached structures on this property. It does have a negative land influence of commercial adjacent, so it's beside some sort of commercial property. And the current 2021 assessment roll is $135,000. So comparable number 1, 965 Alfred Avenue is in Burroughs Central. This is kind of a neighboring neighborhood. 1.5 story, built in 1912, so very close to the subject, with a small effective age on this property as well. 1,307 square feet, full part area with no finished basement. This property has a detached garage, and this property sold for a time adjusted sale price of $155,100. Comparable number 2, 556 Redwood Avenue, 30 in the William White neighborhood, which again is an adjacent neighborhood. 1.5 story building, built in 1925, no effective age on this property, 1,260 square feet, full basement, which is not finished, and no detached structures for this property. There is a negative land influence of light traffic, and this property sold for a time adjusted sale price of $104,700. Comparable 3 is 676 Wellington in Daniel McIntyre neighborhood, 1.5 story, built in 1909. Just over 1,000 square feet for this property for living area, full basement, which is not finished, no detached structures. A couple of negative land influences on this property, and this property sold for $98,600 for the time adjusted sale price. And the final comparable is 287 Aberdeen Avenue, again in the William White neighborhood, 1.5 story, built in 1928, 1,461 square feet, full basement, which is not finished, no detached structures. And this property sold for $137,800 for the time adjusted sale price. So I think looking at the comparable sale prices, I do think that $135,000 for the assessment for this property does fall within a reasonable range for this type of property.
Thank you. Tracy, any questions? Doug?
No questions for me, thank you.
And I have no questions. So we'll move on to number 10, 1376 Elgin.
Before you take your seat, I'll just defer your testimony. You can put your things down and take. For the record, please state your name.
Arthur De Sousa Policarpo.
Do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, Jennifer, you may proceed.
Okay. Roll number 13-07-113-4000, 1376 Elgin Avenue East. This property is in the Weston neighborhood, a 1-story built in 1952. We have no effective age on this property at this time. Living area 934 square feet, a full basement which is finished, air conditioning, and a detached multiple car garage. This property does have a couple of negative land influences, commercial influence, and also rail line, and it also has a positive influence of being on the park. So this property currently has an assessment of $225,000. So the first comparable that I have today is 826 Alfred Avenue in the Burroughs Central neighborhood, 1-story, built in 1915 with an effective age of 1950. 1,224 square feet, a full part area basement, which is not finished, and no detached structures for this property. The assessed lot for this For comparable one, it's just over 3,000 square feet, which is quite a bit smaller than for the subject, which is 7,402 square feet. And comparable number one sold for a time adjusted sale price of $145,100. Comparable number two, 132 Liscar Avenue in North Point, Douglas. Also a one-story built in 1883, so quite a bit older than the subject, but has had some renovations to kind of bring it a little more up to date. So an effective age of 1933. Total square footage for the home, 1,121 square feet. A part basement, which is not finished, and a detached multiple car garage. Again, this property has a much smaller lot than the subject, 3,825 square feet. And this property sold for a time adjusted sale price of $123,800. Comparable number three, 691 Valor Road in Minto neighborhood, a one-story built in 1951, 966 square feet. So this one is very similar in size to the subject, a full basement, which is finished, and a detached multiple car garage. This property also has a couple of negative influences, bus route, medium traffic, and this property sold for $262,100. Comparable number four, 106 Andrews Street in Dufferin, a one-story built in 1907, an effective age of 1967, so reflective of some renovations or upgrades. Total living area of 1,152 square feet, a part basement which is not finished, and no detached structures for this property. And this property sold for $109,300. So I would like to just draw your attention to two listings from MLS that I provided. One is a post-reference sale for the subject for 1376 Elgin Avenue. And I just wanted to this property did sell for a little bit below what we're considering, or what I would consider market value, because it was in foreclosure. So although the property itself was in need of some updates. So I have been in contact with the current owner of this property. He is in the process of sort of renovating or upgrading the property, or just basically trying to fix it up from the stage in which he purchased it. And then the other one is a listing for one of the comparables, for comparable number three, because I do think that this comparable is quite similar to the subject. And even in terms of just some of the upgrades, I think that this property is quite comparable. So yeah, I do think that the assessed value of $225 is reasonable for this property. Thank you.
Thank you. Tracy, Arthur, it's your turn to ask questions of Jennifer based on what she just said.
I think that possibly the Valor Road house comparable, I think there isn't a house on Valor Road that's worth less than $200,000, being Valor Road.
Okay, so do you have any questions of her evidence?
No.
Okay, Tracy, do you have any questions?
I'm curious why there aren't comparables in the actual area of the subject property.
So for this kind of property, this property is currently kind of classified as a like a duplex kind of property. So I guess at one point the basement for this particular property was being rented out, and maybe the main floor as well. I know that Mr. Policarpo is in the process of sort of changing that over. He's not wanting to rent it out, but that at the current time is the way that we have it. So I was looking for other sales of other similar properties. Sales for one-story multifamily conversion homes are few and far between. So I had to go elsewhere to find them.
Okay, and I think my second question is as of the reference date, what was the level of, and maybe this isn't a question for you, but what was the level of renovations completed that you're aware of?
As of the reference date, I don't believe that this property had really any renovations, but we are looking at the state of the property in as of January 1st, 2021. So as of that point, I know that Mr. Policarpo is hoping to have all of the upgrades or renovations complete by that time.
Thank you. Doug?
Were there any building permits taken out on this property?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions.
And I just have one question, Jennifer. The sale price in 2008, was that bona fide?
For the sale price of 2008, I don't believe it was.
But it's still shown on your brief.
Oh, bona fide. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, that was a bona fide sale, I believe. Yeah, but the most recent sale was removed just because it was a sale from a foreclosure.
Okay, thank you. That was my only question. Arthur, now it's your turn to talk to your evidence.
Well, I bought the house for $164,000, and I was shown that the house sold 2 years ago for $183,000, and the property tax assessment is supposed to be based on previous sale or what it would have sold for 2 years prior. And since there was an actual number of 183, I figured I should speak up about it. And I paid 164.
But you realize for these assessments, the reference date is April 1st, 2018?
Now I do.
Okay.
Yeah. And so when I bought this house, it had been decorated by somebody that obviously didn't know what they were doing. And I removed all the wall tiles from the wall, from the floor tiles from the walls. And when I took them off, they were on with construction adhesive. So yanked off chunks of plaster. I repaired the walls. I took off all the tile. Even the bedroom had wall tiles in the bedroom. So I've just brought it back to what it was in 1952. I haven't changed anything. All I've done is remove the funky stuff, plaster, and putty, and paint.
Okay. Now you submitted a brief. Have you got that in front of you? The information you submitted,
Yes.
because we can look at it under. So would you like to go over this
Sure.
information and just highlight the important areas?
I'm not really sure.
So other than what you've just said, what other items in the home have you updated?
Oh, the kitchen. If you look at the pictures of the kitchen,
Okay.
the original, there's like no doors, no nothing basically, just the old cupboards hanging on the walls. So I bought a set of cupboards from Rona, and I put the cupboards up. And the tub that it had, it was like a huge soaker tub that I can't believe it. I can't imagine how he got it even in that small bathroom. And he put it kind of sunk into the wall. So I removed that and I put a normal tub because I don't want to pay the water to fill that tub in the first place. And just bringing it back to what it was, 1952. There's no walls changed. I stripped all the wood. The wood on the wall. I took off all the paint down to bare wood. I primed and painted all the moldings throughout the house on the walls. I took off all the paint to the wood on all the door frames. There's 8 door frames in the hallway. I've just been cleaning it up. I haven't changed anything on it. except for the kitchen cupboards and the washroom tub.
Okay, do you have anything else to add, or? We have.
The garage that it has, it's a little short, squatty garage. It's not really much of a garage. It has those old style doors. I don't even want it. I plan on putting a bigger garage.
Okay, anything else?
No.
Because we do have your submission in the pictures,
Yeah.
so.
Do you have any questions about the pictures?
No, I think they're pretty self-explanatory unless the board members or Jennifer has any questions.
I don't have any
It took
questions.
27 days to get the glue off the floor and get the floors ready.
Okay, I'll turn it over to Jennifer so she can ask any questions she may have, and then the board members will in turn ask any questions they have.
Well, I guess my only question I just wanted to clarify with you, with regards to the pictures that you've submitted, that's the current condition of the property as it is right now?
The ones with the walls painted?
Well, I'm just looking at, I guess some of the, I guess the pictures that were submitted through some emails. So it looks like, yeah, I guess it's pictures of like the tiles removed off of the walls.
You can see the construction piece of what it did to the walls when I pulled them off. There's a lot to replace, fix that.
And the kitchen, the pictures of the kitchen cabinets being demolished, is that the basement kitchen?
No, that's up. Well, which pictures? Oh,
There's some pictures of some cabinets being demolished.
That would have been the basement, where that cabinet was in the back part of the house where it made sense if it was a two-family home. And whoever had the place took that cabinet and stuck it into a room at the front of the house. And if you look at the cabinets when I demolished them just the other day, just to show that it's not going to be a duplex, you can see there's even carpet underneath the cabinets. That's how much funkiness was going on.
So you've demolished the cabinets in the basement. Are you planning to put new cabinets there, like a bar kind of kitchen, or you're just not?
Nothing.
You're taking apart that plumbing and
just the room for my TV and stereo.
Okay.
And upstairs will be my kitchen, and downstairs will just be a normal basement of a house.
Okay. I know, and we also sort of discussed that a little bit last week, but you're planning to have all of this work done before the end of the year. Is that right?
I plan on moving in a month.
Okay.
And
so that's your goal for getting the work done?
Left. Like I said, you're welcome to come and see the house if you wanted to.
Right. Okay.
Before you still want to come see it, you can still come and see it. It's the same house it was in 1952, the main floor. It's restored. Right.
Well, I definitely would like to follow up with you once the work is all complete so that we can change it into just a single family home for you. But for right now, I'm just wondering, so before you move in a month, you're planning to have the work kind of done by that time?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. That's all the questions that I had.
Thank you. Teresa?
Can I go second? I'd like to think about my questions for a moment, please.
Okay, Doug, you're up.
Okay, what year did you purchase that home?
I bought it December. Possession date was December 20th, 2019.
And that was for 164?
Yes.
Okay. And since that time, you've been renovating?
Restoring. I haven't ripped anything out other than the cupboards, the kitchen cupboards that were basically nothing there anyways.
Okay.
And the tub. The rest is, the walls are the same, the moldings are the same, the floor is back. Instead of being tiled over, you can actually see the hardwood floor now.
Okay, perfect. Thanks very much.
The pictures, you could see in the pictures.
Yeah. Okay.
There, I said the picture, the pile of tile that I broke up to get it off the floor. I tried, when I first got the place, I tried solvent, but it stunk too much. I couldn't wipe it off. It was gonna go into the woods, so I didn't take a chance.
Thank you very much. No further questions.
Thank you. I have one question related to on page 6 of your submission. It shows, I assume that's the living room?
The last very nice looking picture,
Yes, there's 2 of them actually.
that's what it looks like now. Yeah, the living room.
So
It's identical to, I tried to take a picture of an old picture I had. So I put the camera in the same position so that you can see before, after. The walls are the same. The heat registers aren't in yet because I haven't taken the multiple coats of paint off them yet. Blue, pink, green, orange.
yeah, we can see the green throughout.
Yeah.
So is the whole main floor restored?
Yes.
So
I'm just finishing I have to take, if you look at the picture that shows the basement entrance,
yes.
that's where I stacked all the quarter rounds from the house. If you zoom in on them, you might be able to see some green ones in there. And that'll be one of the next steps I do, is to clean off all those quarter rounds. I'll be painting them white because the wood originally was varnished, but it's too damaged. The house was used as a foster home, I found out afterwards. So it took a beating. Every time I thought I was going to put primer on, paint on the walls, I'd put primer and it would be a whole bunch more things to fix. I just kept finding them and finding them and finding them. And I'm very meticulous. And I'd say, other than the moldings being painted, it's identical to the house in 1952.
Okay, that was my only question. And so most of these pictures showing the house in a state of disrepair are from the basement?
If the picture is the same, like the same location, it's like before and after. For instance, I don't know, I'll just point it out. This picture here,
I'm right there.
this hole in the wall.
Yeah.
In the bottom left-hand corner, you see a stove plug.
Okay. So this is in the basement.
This is the basement, yeah. This one here, and this where I took apart the cabinet, that was in the basement.
That was in the basement.
That kitchen cabinet, I measured it, and it fit perfectly where it was supposed to. You can even see the baseboard where it was cut for the cabinet toe kick. You could see it on the wall. Somebody took that cabinet, put it in the room in the front of the house, and made a bar at the back. If you see in the pictures, the real estate pictures, you'll see a bar. They mention a bar. It's actually an armoire on its side with a bar sink at the other end.
I guess they were being ingenious about it. I don't know. Okay, that was the only question I had. So that concludes this hearing. Tracy,
I'm good, actually.
are you sure? Okay, thank you. So you'll hear from us within 2 to 3 weeks, and it'll come by registered mail. So you'll have to pick it up if you're not. I'm not sure what your mailing address is now.
1376 Elgin.
So you still have it coming to the house, the mail?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
I've switched all my mail to 1376
Okay.
Elgin.
Yeah, just questioning because you're not living in there yet.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I couldn't move into it the way it was.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, that concludes the hearing.
And one more thing,
Sure.
the washroom, when you grab the shower head, it was loose. It wasn't even connected. It was just sitting there. And had a paper on the toilet that said, don't turn on the water because it's been winterized. If you would have turned on the water, it would have been like a cartoon with water spraying everywhere.
But you rectified this.
Not that yet, no.
So this is in the basement.
This is in the main floor
Oh.
where that big tub was. I don't know how he got that in that little washroom, but when he mounted it in the washroom, the tub where it drops off where you're in the tub, the wall was like right there. It was kind of puttied into the wall.
Yeah, we can see that from.
Yeah, it's just terrible.
Okay, that concludes the hearing. As I said, you'll be receiving the information in 2 to 3 weeks. Okay.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. We will have a short recess of 5 minutes, and then proceed.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you. I would like to call this meeting back to order. The next property is 880 Grosvenor Avenue, and Jennifer, you can proceed.
Okay, so we're looking at 3 properties on Grosvenor that are like they're all the neighboring properties. It's 880, 876, and 874. I do have the same comparables for each of these properties. Would you prefer that I go through one by one or just sort of look at them all together?
I think unless Ryan has an objection, we can hear all those properties on the first one.
Okay.
And then you can just read that into the next 2 so we don't have to go over them all.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that okay, Ryan?
Yep, that's fine. And just reviewing 880 Grosvenor, I think we'll be accepting the recommendation, but we'll still go through the comps, have no objection to that.
Okay, and we'll let Jennifer start.
Okay. So the first property, roll number 12, 022 972 000. This is 880 Grosvenor Avenue. It's in McMillan. 2.5-story property. It's a multifamily conversion built in 1910 with an effective age of 1925. So this property has had some upgrades to one of the suites in the building. Total living area is 2,337 square feet. It's a full part area basement, which is not finished. 1 full bathroom, 2 half, 2 showers, no AC, and a single detached garage. So this property does have some negative influences. It's on a bus route and it has some light traffic. So the current assessment for this property is $413,000. And I am recommending a reduction to $320,000 just based on the comparables and sort of the condition of this property. So this property and actually all of the properties are not in very good condition. They are the recent purchasers of these properties are not going to be using them as they are right now. So the comparables that I'm looking at, the first comparable, for example, 603 Wardlaw Avenue, at the time that it was purchased for $309,400, at the time adjusted sale price, it was in a similar condition. Similarly, it was not in good shape. The water had already been turned off for this property. And so it was subsequently demolished and then resold as just vacant land. So that's comparable number 2, again, 603 Wardlaw Avenue. So resold as vacant land for pretty close to the same sale price, time adjusted price of $307,600. So that's kind of, sorry? Did somebody ask a question? Oh, okay, sorry. And then I have comparable 3, which is 587 McMillan Avenue. In McMillan, it's a 2.5-story multifamily conversion built in 1907, pretty close in terms of square footage. This property did have a finished basement and a single detached car garage. This property sold for a time adjusted price of $318,000. 587 McMillan On the listing, it stated that it needed some TLC, so again, just not in great shape. And then the final comparable is actually the current subject's sale in 2017. So this property actually did sell for $406,700. However, at that time it was in better condition. So I do think that considering the sale of 880 Grosvenor when it was in better condition, but it did sell for time adjusted price of over $400,000. And then the two sales of properties that were similarly in poor condition, 603 Wardlaw Avenue and 587 McMillan, which sold for just about 310 and 318,000. And then again, that land sale for 603 Wardlaw, just kind of showing that even, the land has pretty good value in this area. Again, sold for just under $308,000. So I do think that the reduction to $320,000 does reflect the current state of these three properties. So this was for 880 Grosvenor and then 874 and 876 as well.
Thank you, and I guess we should confirm, right?
For the record, please state your name.
Brian Oliveros.
Do you affirm the evidence you present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So Ryan, do you have any questions of the evidence that Jennifer presented?
I do, but I think they tie in more to the subsequent properties that'll be heard. So I think it's better if I ask the questions then, but I'll accept the recommendation for 880 Grosvenor, if that's okay.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Gracie, any questions?
I have a question.
Doug?
No questions for you, thank you.
And I have no questions. So let's go to the next. The next one is 876 Grosvenor. And Jennifer, you may proceed.
Okay, so 876 Grosvenor Avenue is a neighboring property to the property we just heard, 880. It's this similar sort of building, 2.5-story multifamily conversion built in 1910, 2474 square feet, full basement, not finished, no detached structures for this property. And the current assessment on this property is $350,000. So again, I'm using the same comparables as for 880 Grosvenor, so I won't go over those again. But I do think that I know Ryan and I were talking, and this property doesn't have the renovated suite that 880 Grosvenor had. But I do think that looking at the value of the land and even the value of the property in its current condition, would need a lot of work to kind of make it, habitable or saleable. I do think that the value is still there at $320,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan, any questions?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, so just looking at your comp number 2, there's no approved demolition permit for 876 Grosvenor. Would you agree with me on that?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so, sorry, what was that?
No, I just said right. No current permit.
Okay. So if there's no demolition permit, we can't exactly look to land value. Can we because the issue right now is that we're trying to value this property as it exists in its current physical condition. So looking at land values, would you not agree that we can't look to land value in this case, since there is no demolition permit? Just from my experience in talking with people from the office, I know looking to land sales, when the property is still improved, no demolition permits, that we can't look to land value. Would you agree with me on that?
I do think that in this case, although no permit has been issued to demolish this property, just given that the sale of the land and the sale with the property in kind of a not very good condition is pretty similar. Like those values are pretty close. I do think that it's worth just sort of considering and having in the back of our minds that there is a lot of value in the land in this area.
Okay. But then any purchaser looking at this, if they did want to tear it down, would they not have to consider the demolition costs involved as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And you would agree with me that this property in particular, it's in very poor condition?
Yes, yeah, I would agree. Yeah, based on the photos that I saw that you sent to me.
Okay, so, and you haven't inspected, or have you inspected 876 Grosvenor at all?
I have not.
Okay. Look at your comps 1, 3, and 4. Well, actually, just comp number 1, because you did say it was demolished after it was sold.
For Wardlaw was demolished after it was sold. Yeah.
Okay. So looking at comp number 3 and comp number 4, which is one of the properties on the docket today, they were in better condition than the subject property. Would you agree?
I haven't inspected 587 McMillan, but just based on the listing, which stated that it needed a lot of work, it needed some TLC. I can't remember what their exact wording was, though. But I do think that 587 McMillan is not in good shape either. But yes, 880 Grosvenor, comparable for when it sold. From what I understand from what you have told me, it was in better condition when it was purchased at 406 for the time adjusted sale price.
Okay. And what does the sale price per square foot work out to your recommendation here?
I'm actually not sure, but let me just take a quick look.
Okay.
It would be $129.35 per square foot.
Okay. And from the notes that I had sent you from my site inspections of all 3 properties on the docket, actually, you're aware of the asbestos, mold and mildew concerns on 876 Grosvenor and 874, and I will correct 880 Grosvenor. I was told that there were there was presence of asbestos, but actually that was false. My client forwarded me the asbestos documents after the fact, and I confirmed that there actually were no asbestos present, but that was just during a phase 1 environmental site assessment. But now looping back for 874 and 876 Grosvenor, you'd agree that there were mold and mildew issues and as well as asbestos concerns as well?
Yeah, and that's something that I'm sort of taking into account with kind of the total condition of the property, something that would need to be remediated before it would be habitable or somebody could live there.
But looking at 876 Grosvenor, would you not agree that it would require a complete sort of overhaul, looking at the condition of the properties of the photos that I sent you?
Right. Yep, definitely needs a lot of work.
Okay, for sure. So an adjustment, you have this at 129. Shouldn't the adjustment be somewhat larger than what you have recommended today?
Well, I think that for this property, I think that kind of have to just look at the sales, right? Like the condition of the property is poor, but the condition of the properties that I'm using as sales is similarly poor condition properties. So I do think that the recommendation reflects the sales that I was able to find.
Okay, no further questions. Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer.
Tracy, any questions? Doug?
Question's been answered, thank you.
I have one question, and Jennifer, you may not be able to answer. Are the services still connected?
You know what? I'm not sure. Ryan could probably better answer that.
It's only electricity that's the services are still connected, but they've shut everything off, so it's just electricity running through the home right now.
So sewer and water doesn't function?
Sewer and water, as far as I know, isn't functioning, no.
Okay, that answered my question. Brian, you may proceed.
Thank you. Okay, so the subject property at 876 Grosvenor, roll number 12022297100. It's located on the, flipping to page 2 of my brief. It's located on the northwest side of Grosvenor Avenue between Wentworth Street and Lilac Street. It's a 2.5-story multiple family residence. It's currently sitting vacant at the moment. There are 2 units in the property, or in the subject building itself, built in 1910. I inspected this property as well as all properties on this related to our properties on the docket twice now. The first time would have been in October of 2019. The second time would have just been last week, actually, when I inspected these properties. So from what I saw in my site inspection, this property is in poor uninhabitable condition. There are cracks along some of the walls, and most flooring throughout the house is in poor condition. Antiquated mechanicals that more relates to the heating in the property, or the ventilation in the property throughout the home. There's mold and mildew. There's a presence of mold and mildew within the home, and there's a confirmed presence of asbestos. I have confirmed that with my client as well. So I do want to take you through the photographs that I've provided in my brief. Starting on page 8, we can see that the exterior of the property is in very poor condition. We can see part of the roof there is deteriorating, also in poor condition. The walkway would also need some work, as you can tell from all the cracks. So landscaping would be a big factor in anybody who would look to purchase this property. I have some close-ups of the property as well. On page 9, we can see that the windows are in poor conditions, more of the cracks showing on the exterior of the subject. Number 10, the chip in the stucco cladding, that was from a tree falling onto the property back in the storm in October 2019, I believe that's when it was. So we have part of the stucco that has fallen off, and we could see that the exterior would probably need a complete overhaul. Page 11, I've provided sort of rear views of the property, and also on page 12. Provided as best of a photo I can of the roof. On page 13, we can see again, it's in poor condition. The deck, the angle that I took this at, it was a little awkward, is the best angle I could get, but you can see that the deck here on the right side of the photo, it is slanting. So that deck would need to be replaced as well. Going to page 15 of my brief, we can see the condition of the interior. Looking at the flooring here, there are gaps in between the flooring. So the flooring, I'm gonna say that the entire interior of this home would need a complete overhaul in order to make it in more livable, sort of tolerable condition. Page 16, we have the main floor unit kitchen. Page 17, we have the main floor unit. Okay, that was mislabeled. That's just the bedroom. And page 18 would be the main floor unit washroom. Page 19, we can see the cracks in the wall, or on the walls within the property. And page 20, it's a little dark, but though, just to show the condition of the windows, they weren't in very good condition when I was in there. And just an overall show of the basement, the best one I could get, it was a very low ceiling height, as you can tell. Cracks in the flooring, and again, there were mold and mildew issues throughout within the basement. So just to say that this property itself is in very poor condition. So looking at my comps that I've provided here, we have had to look to other areas. 876 Grosvenor, it is a multiple family dwelling. So 41 Gertrude, I will say that that is just a single family home. 125 Bole and 679 Mulvey, those are rental properties. However, from what I could tell in the listings, these comparables number 2 and 3, which is what we have placed the most weight on here, or comparable number 2 more so, They comparable number 2 only needed a bit of repairs done to it, whereas the subject property, we feel it is actually in poorer condition than the comps that we have presented to you today. So we did a search again. We did quite an extensive search of the comparable properties, and we feel that looking at the comps that we've provided here, that 876 Grosvenor should be below the range that we have provided. 103, below the range. So the range of the sale price per square foot of the properties that we provide is 103.66 to 149.87. All comparables number 2, 1 and 2, similar in age. The size comparable number 2 is a little bit smaller than the subject, but it is in better condition from what I've read in the listing. The basement is finished in 125 Bulle according to the assessor's records. Similar number of rooms, washrooms. You can see there's 2 full baths, 1 half bath, 2 full baths for comparable number 2. Comparable number 3 has 2 full baths. No air conditioning in each of the comparable properties. There are no garages, no pools, and the land sizes are a little bit smaller. But again, looking at the property, the fact that it's in a poor condition, I've confirmed that there's asbestos, mold and mildew issues. We're going to need a complete overhaul of the property, so that is why we feel that it should be below the sale price per square foot that you see here. So with that being said, we would ask the board to reduce the assessed value for 876 Grosvenor from $350,000 to $248,000. That works out to $100 per square foot. For your reference, I've also provided photos of the comparable properties on pages 22 to 23. And again, we're just asking that the board reduce the assessed value from $350,000 to $248,000. Thank you.
Jennifer, any questions?
Yes, I do have just a couple of questions, Ryan. So just looking at your page 5, where you have your comparables listed.
Right.
So I guess just 2 things that I wanted to sort of clarify with you. I guess first, comparable number 3 would, I guess sort of stating the obvious, but you would agree that it's quite a bit smaller than the subject, just looking at the square footage of the property, 1518 square feet to
Yes.
2358 square feet. Or sorry, to 2474 for the subject. Okay, so that property sold for $227,500. Is that the time adjusted sale price or just the actual sale price?
That is just the actual sale price.
Okay, so the numbers that you're presenting today are based on the actual sale prices and not the time adjusted sale prices?
That would be correct, yes.
Okay.
I've been advised in the past by another board that we should be looking to just the actual sale prices, because it already does provide us a range of what the properties we're selling for within the reference period. So that's why, and I know that we typically, in the past, our office, and I know some other people they do go with the time adjusted sale prices. But through questioning, I've learned that they are just aggregate adjustments. So we need to look at these site specific adjustments, and looking at this property, there's going to be a lot of adjustments to make in order to figure out the time adjusted sale price for this property, which it's deteriorated quite a bit. So I believe we should just look at the range and provide us sort of subjective adjustment at that point.
So basically you're not making any allowances for what a property, looking at comparable number 3, for example, selling in November of 2016, how the market may have changed between November 2016 to April of 2018? Almost
No.
a year and a half later?
Not
Okay.
necessarily, no.
Okay, and then just the other thing that I noticed was that only one of your comparables is in the same neighborhood as the subject. Is there a reason you didn't choose comparables that were within the same neighborhood?
So we were looking for properties that were also in poor condition. I see that you've provided, like looking at your comps, I see that you have provided that. I would need to confirm if they were sold in the open market. I don't know why we would have missed these ones, but just applying the fact that it was just the fact that we were trying to look for properties that have not been kept up or in poor condition, and this is what we came up with. And we
Right.
have to go to adjacent areas, and I provided a map as well. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
page. I have provided a map on page 24, and they are still quite close to the McMillan neighborhood.
Right. Because one thing that I'm noticing in your comparables is that the sale price for the comparable that is in McMillan, comparable number 1, is quite a bit higher than the sale prices in the other neighborhoods. So wouldn't you agree that there can be differences between neighborhoods in terms of what homes are selling for, just based on the neighborhood?
In terms of location, I'm sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
quite catch that.
Sorry, yeah, I'll repeat. Wouldn't you agree that location can impact the selling price of a home? Even everything else, all other things being equal, just the location can impact the price.
Yeah, I would agree that it would impact the price, but I believe that 481 Gertrude was in better condition. Just reading what the public remarks had to say about it. So if we were to go put more of our weight onto 481 Gertrude, we would still have to apply a subjective adjustment for condition at that point as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. That was all my questions.
Thank you. Tracy?
I have one question, actually. I can see from your brief, page 22, that there's clearly what looks like mold to be in the basement here, but you haven't provided any evidence about the asbestos. You have some information on that?
Yeah, I have the email from my clients here. I didn't put it into my brief though, but I do have the email in the file here confirming that there is a presence of asbestos, but whether the board wants to accept that or not. The reason why I didn't put this into the brief was because there was post-reference information in there. So to be fair, and I didn't want to redact it otherwise, yeah.
Well, and this is level 1 report, isn't it?
Sorry?
This is a level 1 report?
I'm not too sure. I'm quite familiar with the definition of what a level 1 report would be.
Well, it's when, who was the author of this one?
I wrote the brief. We have a template, but
No, of the report that you have. Is that from an engineering firm or health department or?
Oh yeah, that was from a health department. Yeah, so it was from Pinchin, I believe.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Doug?
Couple of questions. Is that a stone foundation at home?
In the basement?
Yes.
That is a good question. I would have thought that was concrete at first, but yeah, at this point I was just looking at what the overall condition was of the property. It could very well be stone. I'm not quite too sure about that.
Okay. And there's obviously water issues in the basement if there's mold and.
Yes.
Okay, so is this through the foundation or is it leaking in the windows or do you know?
Is it through the foundation, the mold and mildew issues? You know what? Looking at the site assessment, I didn't receive this till after, so we're not professionals in determining where these mold and mildew issues are coming from. I try to not make any conclusions about that on my own. I'm not too sure where the mold and mildew issues would be coming from, but just that they are present in the property.
Now, Pinchin Environmental, they gave you a report on that. They give you an idea of how much there might be in cost to remediate that whole issue?
I believe they just provided recommendations on what would need to be done. I received these very late. It was just on Friday when the briefs were due, but I don't think I saw how much it would cost to remediate any of these damages. And my client isn't looking to remediate any of the damages as well. they are poised for they do want to develop these lands. And okay, this is what I was hoping. I did not want to mention this just because it is post-reference. However, it would speak to why these buildings cannot be demolished. So I'd have to ask you, Mr. Chair, if that would be acceptable for me to bring that up at this point, because I know there is the concern as to why remediation costs are not being taken into account right now.
Well, that's post-reference, so is
It is post-reference, yeah.
so then we don't want to hear it.
Okay.
Thank you, that's all my questions.
Just to note, if you look at 12 and 13, you can see that it's brick foundation, or at least that the elevation that we're looking at is.
I saw that, but that's, I don't believe that's the actual foundation.
I know, but yeah, on the dates, it's
Because
probably stone.
I'm looking at 22. Well, his 21, and that's an interior shot of the basement. I don't know if you can tell if that's stone or not.
I would say that's stone.
And it's plastered over.
Yeah.
It would be in that date frame.
Yeah.
It should be a stone foundation, but then they've got that brick underneath the stucco on the outside, the purging on the outside. Like I said.
Any other questions?
No, I'm good, thank you.
And I'm good. So let's proceed to the last one on the docket, 874 Grosvenor Avenue. Okay, Jennifer, you can proceed.
So roll number is 12-022-970000, 874 Grosvenor Avenue. Similarly, 2.5-story, built in 1910, 2,385 square feet, full basement not finished, and a single detached garage. This property is currently valued at $335,000. And again, I'm using the same comparable, so I am recommending a reduction to $320,000 for this property as well. My understanding is that this property is in a very similarly poor condition to 876 Grosvenor. I do think that because the comparables that I'm using are also in poor condition and they're all in the same neighborhood as the subject, that it really does indicate that there is value in these properties even when they're not in good condition, and work would have to be put into them to get them fixed up. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan, any questions?
I have no questions, no.
Thank you. Tracy?
I have no questions.
None for me, thank you.
And I have none, so Ryan, you can proceed.
Oh, Jennifer, I do want to say too that we do appreciate the offers though, but we wouldn't be able to move forward with them, so. Okay, so the subject property at 874 Grosvenor Avenue, roll number 12-0229700000. So going to page 2 of my brief, a lot of the same things actually going on with this property. So it's located on the northwest side of Grosvenor Avenue between Wentworth Street and Lilac Street. It's a 2.5-story residence. So this is just a single family dwelling. It's not multiple family. It's built in 1910. We have a living area of 2,385 square feet. It does have with an unfinished basement with a 308 square foot single detached garage. I've inspected this property twice as well, October 2019 and just last week. It's in poor uninhabitable condition from what we've seen. There's cracks along some of the walls of this property as well. Most of the flooring is also in poor condition, antiquated mechanicals. We do have mold and mildew concerns, as well as the confirmed presence of asbestos. The exterior, poor condition. The wood siding is in poor condition as well. The roofing materials on the roofing materials are in poor condition, and the windows as well, poor condition. So I provided photos of the subject, starting on page 7. So I do want to take you through those as well. Page 7, I provided a front view. You can see that the front of the property is just all grass. There's no walkway leading to 874 Grosvenor. Page 8, that's the southwest elevation. We can see from this close-up that the wood siding here, again, it's not in poor condition as I've stated. Or sorry, it is in poor condition as I have stated. A rear view on page 9. Page 10, another rear view just to get a bit more of a close-up on there. Page 11, I provided a shot of the roof as best as I could get from the street. Page 11, you can see the kitchen here. Page 12, this is the main floor living area. You can see from the floorboards, it's a little blurry, but when I was there, the floorboards there were gaps in between them. So again, flooring would need a complete overhaul for most of the home. Page 13, just a few more shots of another shot of the dining room, or a shot of the dining room from what I could tell of the layout of the home. Page 13 was just to show the stairway floor, also in poor condition. Page 14, I provided a photo of the second floor bedroom. The flooring here is actually okay. But again, that's just one of the rooms out of many. The second floor washroom, you can see some of the paint chips happening here. It was also in poor condition. Page 15, provide a photo of the third floor bedroom. Page 16, there's another room on the third floor, and you can see the condition of the carpet from there. And page 17 and 18, basement. You can see, keep saying poor condition, but that's what it is. The basement is poor condition, as well as the cracks in the basement flooring as well. Page 19, another photo of the basement, as you can see here, and the single detached garage on page 20. I did not look at the interior of that. So the comps that I've used for 874 Grosvenor on page 4 of my brief. Comparables 1 and 2, they're in the McMillan neighborhood, 41 Gertrude and 767 McMillan Avenue. Comparable number 3, 763 Warsaw, that is in the Earl Grey neighborhood. It's still very close to McMillan though. The years built very close to the subject. The living area is 2,125 square feet to 2,432 square feet. Comparable 1, the basement is not finished like the subject. Comparable 2, it has a partial basement finish. Comparable 3, fully finished basement according to the assessor's records, assessment department's records, sorry. Washrooms, has about 1 or 2 more than the subject for each of them. There's air conditioning in comparable number 2. Comparables 2 and 3 both have a double detached garage. Lot sizes, they range from 3,899 square feet to 6,020 square feet. From what I can tell from the listings for each of these, 41 Gertrude, we've heard about it for the previous property at 876 Grosvenor. There have been some updates to it. It looks like these properties have been kept up from what I can tell from the listing and the photos that I was looking at. So we feel that all of these properties are superior to the subject. 874 Grosvenor would probably be most comparable to, I would say, 41 and 767 McMillan. But because of the poor condition that the subject property is in, I think we can argue that there would be a significant adjustment for the condition of 874 Grosvenor, which is why we are asking this board to reduce the assessed value for 874 Grosvenor from $335,000 to 239,000. That works out to $100 per square foot as well.
Thank you. Jennifer, any questions?
I do have a couple of questions. So again, just looking at your pages 4 and 5, I guess. So you're requesting a reduction from 335,000 down to 239,000. I'm just wondering, without having found any sales of properties that are in the same condition as the subject, how did you arrive at your value of $239,000? Like, where did that size of reduction kind of come from?
Right. I typically consult with the senior consultants in my office. They do have much more experience than I would. Speaking with the lead agent of this property, who has also inspected the property with me on October 2019, he was saying that these properties in the condition that they're in would need a complete overhaul. That's where I received that advice from, and I didn't disagree with that. I actually quite agree with it. He was saying that to rehabilitate 874 as well as 876 Grosvenor would probably cost the purchaser $100,000 from what he told me. But I think I've been quite generous with this, because looking at 481 Gertrude, I just got to run the number here quickly. 120. So that's about a $20 adjustment from 41 Gertrude times it by the living area 2,385. That's only about 47,700 lump sum. So I'm looking at about only half of what we estimate or subjectively would think it would cost. So I think I've been quite generous at that point, because again, 41 Gertrude, when I can tell from the photos, it's had some updates. 2005 given you, but it does look like it was from what I've seen in the pictures of the listing, which we're not allowed to provide because they are proprietary photos, that 41 Gertrude is in much better condition. So I believe a subjective adjustment down to $100 would not be unreasonable.
Okay, so I just, is it okay if I ask a question about 880 Grosvenor?
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay, because I just wanted to double check. So 880 Grosvenor is, although it has one suite that was sort of upgraded, I guess, by a previous owner at some point along the way, the rest of the property, I think, did you say that it was in the same condition, like it's having the same issues as the other two properties, or that property is not having the same issues? I just wanted to clarify that.
So the only major difference I believe that 880 Grosvenor is having in comparison to the in comparison to 874 and 876 Grosvenor is that I received this after the fact, but and I'm making the correction now. There are not asbestos. There's no confirmed presence of asbestos in 880 Grosvenor. But other than that, I mean, and you did bring this up that, okay, yeah, the property was upgraded. I could tell from my inspection that it was in a bit in better condition than 874 and 876, but it was still running into the mold and mildew issues that 874 and 876 Grosvenor were going through. But it looks like it was kept up. It was kept up more than both 874 and 876. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. So it has the same water and mold issues, but not the asbestos.
Not the asbestos.
Or just hasn't been tested for it.
It's been tested, but I think in a phase 1 environmental site assessment, they don't really take apart any of the walls. They just try to see what's visible at that point, from what I can remember. But if we were to go into phase 2 or maybe even phase 3 site assessment, I believe that's when they take a closer look at if there's any asbestos concerns. But we are not professionals in environmental site assessments. But again, there's just been nothing confirmed at this point.
Okay,
there's still the wall, there's still insulation within the walls, and with houses built pre-1980, I believe asbestos insulation was still used prior to that.
Okay, I think that was,
Maybe much older homes, but maybe closer to 1980 wouldn't be as apparent.
okay, thank you. I think that was all my questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer. Tracy?
I have no questions.
One question on all these properties, you're talking about asbestos in all of them pretty much. Is this just on the insulation on pipes or is it elsewhere? Are they using vermiculite in these places or is it just nailed down to one type of asbestos?
Believe it was mostly in the ceilings and the walls. And then there was the boiler in 874 Grosvenor.
There's asbestos on the insulation on the boiler,
Sorry?
asbestos insulation on the boiler.
Yes, it was an asbestos boiler from what I was told, from what I can read here. So I do have to now refer to the site assessment to see exactly where
Okay.
everything was.
Okay, that's fine. No further questions. Thank you.
So I have one question. 880 Grosvenor. There's the mold and mildew issue. Correct?
Yes.
Is the sewer and water functioning in that unit?
I believe the water services have been turned off. It's just electricity running through the homes.
And we could see some power in all three of them.
Yes.
So they're all built in 1910.
Yeah.
They're all within 100 square feet of each other.
Yes.
And they all have no sewer and water.
So the sewer and water services are connected, but the water has just been shut off and water meters have been shut off too. Just so.
They physically remove the water meter?
No, it's just been shut off.
But for all intents and purposes, they are very similar.
880 Grosvenor, I would say it is in better condition than 874 and 876. 874 and 876 Grosvenor are the ones that would be in a much more detrimental condition. So that is why we've applied that's why we valued those two lower than 880.
So you've accepted the recommendation on 880 at 320,000.
Yes.
You're proposing a value on 876 of 248 and 874 of 239.
Correct.
Substantially different than the recommendation you accepted.
Substantially different. That's because I agree that 880 is in a better condition than 874 and 876. 880 is the better property. 874, 876. Again, I've inspected the homes twice now. 880 is in a much better condition, which is why I wouldn't like to be fair. I wouldn't put such a negative value adjustment for that for its condition. Whereas 874 and 876, we can see from the photos, everything in there is much more original than 880 was. I have provided photos of 880 Grosvenor in my brief as well, but because I accepted the recommendation, I didn't go through those photos with you. But it is.
We still have them.
Yeah. Did you want me to go through them? That way we can see it, or? I think it's the fact that we missed the photos in 880 Grosvenor that the values sort of don't make sense. But if we look at the condition of 880 Grosvenor, then.
Well, let's turn back to the photos for 880.
Okay.
Since we didn't go through it. Are you okay with that, Jennifer?
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Proceed, sorry.
right, yes, so page 7, that's the front view of the property. We can see that the exterior, that has actually been fully renovated. Page 8, I show the southeast and southwest elevations of the exterior of 880 Grosvenor. Page 9, that's the rear view, again, as best as I can get from there. I've provided a photo of the roof. Better condition than 874 and 876 from what I could tell. Page 10, I just provided this best photo I can of the deck there. Page 11, we can see that it was renovated. That actually looks like new ventilation to me on page 11. The flooring does look in good condition. I know we do walk in there with the property owners do walk in there with their shoes, so it is just a little dirty, but from what I've seen, the flooring here was in good condition. Page 12, there were just cracks in the wall there that I wanted to show, as well as the updated kitchen, that they are looking to donate the cabinets and the kitchen fixtures too, by the way. Page 13, just showing the crack. I don't know if these cracks might symbolize some maybe settling within the property. Page 13, that looks like the original flooring to me. The upper floor bedroom on page 14. We can see there it's in okay condition as well. The basement, more so the same as 874 and 876 Grosvenor, but again the above grade levels seem to be, when I inspected this property, were in better condition than 874 and 876. So looking at these, I hope that answers the question now as to why we're accepting the recommendation for 880 Grosvenor, because from our inspection we could tell it was in much better condition than 874 and 876. Whereas 874 and 876, the properties are in disrepair. So that's why we feel that there's a further adjustment warranted for 874 and 876 Grosvenor, a negative value adjustment.
Okay, that was my only question. Jennifer, did you have any questions about the pictures?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. So just looking at these pictures, my understanding was that it was only part of the building that had some of these interior renovations. It was just one suite. Is that right?
Sorry, okay, I probably misspoke. So it looks like it was the main floor suite that was renovated, but then the upper floor suites, from when I inspected this property, they did look more kept up than 874 and 876 Grosvenor.
Okay, and so this property, although may have had some interior renovations, it looks like it's still having the same issues in terms of the shifting and the cracking, and as you already mentioned, the mold and the mildew. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, I think that's all the questions.
Thank you. Tracy, any questions about the pictures?
Yes, please. One question. 880 has no water as well. Like it's not. It looks nice. It looks habitable, but it has no water. The water's been shut off.
The water's just been shut off, yes, but it's still connected to the water, from my understanding. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Right now. All I can really say is, without just to be fair, they're just not able to demolish the home at the moment. So.
I'm looking at some remediation foundation here, and it's not a new boiler, but it's certainly not an original in the basement pictures. So that's it for me. Thank you.
No, I'm good, thank you.
And I have no questions, so that concludes this property. And then concludes our hearing for today. Thank you very much.